I'd like to call September 25th, 2024 FinCom meeting to order by calling the roll. Emily?
Here.
Stan?
Here.
Roy?
Here.
And Dick? Here. The reason there are only 4 tonight is that last night we received the resignation letter from Jocelyn. We're going to miss her terribly. We will be seeking another member. We're checking with the town now as how to replace an elected member. Kate, are you there, and do you have anything to add you'd like to add at this time?
Just that the town adopted an MGL that has elected members being a joint appointment by the select board and whatever committee that is. So it would be a joint appointment between you all and the select board once you have persons to choose from.
Okay, so if we were to find a candidate or a candidate made themselves available to us, we would bring it before the Board of Selectmen?
Or the Board of Selectmen.
Or would the Board of Selectmen do it by themselves?
No, they'd have to do it with you. So I suppose whoever meets first, the other group would join them.
Okay, how much, if anything, does a previous election count? Something or nothing?
Nothing other than policy.
Okay, just going by that. Well, to members and those listening, keep us in mind. We are seeking a member as we get into this budget season, a working member, someone who's familiar with it and is willing to do the work. First, I would like to express appreciation to Jocelyn for all she did do for us. And I hope that she will, once she gets a life in order with children and work, come back and help us again. She'll be much missed. Is there anyone else who would like to say anything on that situation?
Just a thank you to Jocelyn.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a lot of friends here tonight, and I'm thrilled to see it, and I'll try and do this in an order that makes sense. Kate, we're going to have to call on you quite a bit here tonight, so I hope you're ready. I want to start, you see it up on your screen, with recurring annual allocations. We will get to the large spreadsheet at the end, but I want to do this to get our guests' input as soon as possible. As we go down this, Kate, this first part is for you. Townwide Technology Fund, what is that?
That's a systematic replacement of laptops, monitors, and telephones.
Okay, and that's a 30,000 that you thought through. The town clerk, the planning division, the historical, the health, and the disability are all from previous years, right?
Correct.
Okay, now we get down into facilities administration. Here you have 30,000. Over on the main sheet, you have 25,000. If you go back to this big spreadsheet, the 5-year spreadsheet, it says 25,000.
I lumped in.
Is that not it right there?
Yeah, hold on. It's G17. Sorry, G17. Oh, it's just the wrong it must have gone to this one. It shouldn't be G. It should have been L. So let me change that, which is great.
Well, we've also got a change down.
Thank you.
We've also got a change down on parks, town owned. You've got 10,000 on the main sheet. It says 7,500.
That's because these are two. So this is lines 28 and 29. So if I come over here, it's 7,500 plus 2,500. See, they're just for two different. So one is for the playground surfacing that has to happen every other year. And then one is for just general parks and conservation.
Yes, but it's still $2,500 too much.
Same number.
But it should, on the other sheet, it should say unless I'm reading it wrong. You've got playgrounds above for 2,500. Go to the next there. See, you got playgrounds for 2,500 and parks for 10,000. That 10,000 should be 7,500, I believe.
Got it.
Okay. So that brings us down. We will go over these as a committee when we get to the large, I'm going to call it the 5-year plan scale. Right now, I want to deal with this. So the first thing we come to is public safety. If we come down a bit, public safety. And I think that would be Ev. Everett, are you available?
Dick, can you hear me?
Mildly, yes.
I will try to speak up.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
First of all, what the mass and tanks, public safety, I think that's a given, is it not?
Yeah, my radio or microphone is going in and out, so let me know if I'm talking and you can't hear me. But yeah, so for public safety, the SCBA masks and bottles or tanks are the breathing apparatus that fire personnel use to go safely into a house and be able to breathe fresh, clean air.
Okay, and that's 10,000 for masks and tanks. What about public safety equipment? Is that the same category?
No, the public safety equipment is our radio, our two-way radio operations, and that would be to set us up for replacement for both police and fire.
Right. All right. Now, does anyone on the committee have any questions about the masks or the public safety equipment? Not hearing any. Let's move on to the police vehicles. This one I have a problem with. I think you heard me the other night.
I did.
It seems to me as though we have, just based on personnel now, and not counting you, one extra vehicle under public safety, since we do not have, quote, a fire chief. Is there an extra vehicle not being used, or is that being used by somebody?
So that vehicle is being used by our deputy fire chief, who's a call responder, to be able to get quicker response for scene size up at fire scenes. Similar to what a...
And what was he using prior to that vehicle being available?
Personal vehicle.
Personal vehicle. Okay, well,
that's using a personal vehicle.
That rules that out. Okay. So is this a need that you see we ought to spend this year?
So
the problem I'm having is, and I explained it the other night, can we get a used vehicle for a 3-year run instead of a new vehicle for a 5 to 6 year run? Is there any way to save $30,000 or thereabouts?
So I mean, that's really not a decision for me to make. I am a strong advocate of going with new vehicles that are under guarantee and warranty. It's not just the vehicles that bring it up to the 62,000. It's all the equipment that we transfer over. What I can tell you is that in the recent, maybe 3 years ago, we tried to go without purchasing a cruiser. And what it did was it added extra wear and tear on other cruisers. And then when we finally thought we were going to have the money to do a 2-year purchase, the price had gone up over $10,000. So it ended up costing us more money by trying to save that money. So I just don't see the value in trying to kick the can down the road because I have not seen prices come down.
Okay, that's
And I would
good.
hate to
You
have it
said
come at the
exactly
cost
what
of
I
the
thought you
taxpayer.
would, and I appreciate it very much, Ed. Now,
Thank you.
is there anything else that any committee member would like to say about the vehicles?
Dick, I have a question, please. This is
Sure.
Stan. Everett, what is actually contained in that 62,000? Is that one vehicle plus equipment?
That is the vehicle, the transferring all of the equipment over, and the light packages. Anything that is useful that we can transfer over, we do. But unfortunately, the lights, which is a pretty considerable expense, are usually not anything that are worth bringing over.
Yeah, but that's one vehicle, Chief. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is one vehicle with everything that we would need from the time we order it to the time that we put it into service.
Thank you.
And
I
this
would-
we do yearly, I'm told.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I'm fully in support of the police vehicles being updated every year. I think it's kind of standard practice in a lot of towns that they would replace one cruiser each year. So I am completely in support of that.
Right. Now, Ev, what do we do with the old vehicle?
So our standard practice used to be to just trade them in, and we would get typically
I can't hear you,
$5.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
So in the years past, we had always just traded them in, and we realized that that was not very financially savvy for the town. So we have since moved to using a website called GovDeals. And for a typical trade-in of $500 to $750, we are now getting roughly $4,000 at the sale public government auction on the website again called GovDeals.
okay, where does that $4,000 go?
It comes back to the town of Lancaster, and I give it to Cheryl. I would defer to where it ends up.
So
That
it's in
goes to the general fund.
Goes to the
Sale
general
of
fund.
property,
It goes to the general fund.
yeah. Okay, good. So that's other income. All right. Everett, I think there's one more thing that might have to do with yourself, or two more things. The first one being the all-terrain vehicle.
Yes. Yeah, I in preparation for this, I had talked to the team last night. We understand the situation that the town is in, and we are all in agreement. The risk versus reward for the public, it's not worth pursuing that matter. We did check our reports. We would have used it right around a dozen times, although it might save a sprained ankle and some fatigue. Again, it's not worth us asking the taxpayers to spend their hard-earned dollars on that. So that we would like to remove that.
Okay, wonderful. Is there something in the future where you would buy that in conjunction with another town, or is it better to own our own?
I believe, again, speaking with the team last night, our goal is to look for some of the grants available as we try to do with all of our purchases, but to look for some of the fire safety grants and perhaps pursue it in that manner.
Okay, fine. And then finally, although it's not here, the two bumper thing. I think Roy has an interest in this also, but could you explain it's already been approved by the Board of Selectmen, but was never discussed with finance. Can you discuss it with us?
I'd be happy to. I know that we had, I believe, sent the individual members of the finance committee the presentation, which went over the need for a replacement for our, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but our 1999 engine 4 pumper. And when we asked our team, to review the need as well as the benefits of replacement, we looked at the new trends and policies of creating what we feel is a better overall response to the entire town, which is why we've asked for the 2 trucks, one being a tanker to get water to our non-hydrant district in a much more proactive and efficient manner. And then the mini pumper, as it would be more cost effective to utilize for some of the smaller calls that a rescue would go to, because the fuel costs are going to be less, maintenance costs are going to be less, everything would be less expensive going that route. So we really do feel that it is the best plan for replacement, knowing that engine 4 is definitely at the end of its useful life between the air leaks that it has, as well as the failing pump and its inability to draft.
Okay, now, I'm going to ask Kate to come in on this. Are we physically spending the money in 26, or is there no payment until 27 and we have to reapprove it a year from now? When is the money to be spent? They're actually out of our system.
There's no payment until FY27, and FY27 is an interest-only payment. And the payment is low enough that the debt that's coming off, this will just replace it. And so it will just be part of the general fund request that you see, and it'll be included like you saw the old fire budgets that are included as transfers out.
Okay, what happened to the old policy which we approved a year ago or something, where you couldn't spend money in advance of actually having it approved?
So that's an MGL, and the way that we were able to handle that is that the contract that we have with the vendor says that it's subject to appropriation by town meeting through the budget every year.
Okay, so everything's up to snuff if we do it this way.
Correct.
Okay, Roy, did you have anything you want to add with this on the fire engines? Are you there, Roy?
Can you hear me now? Dick, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
sorry, I was on mute. I wanted to make two quick comments here. Okay, well, 2 comments. One is Everett was gracious enough and spent quite a bit of time with me on September 12th, as I recall, Everett. We had both some email exchanges, and Everett called me, and we went through some details on some things. And based on the presentation that Everett and his team did at the select board meeting on, I believe it was the 4th, the discussions that he and I had, I am fully in support of, buying these 2 trucks. I believe they have made their case that the old one needs to be replaced. It is failing significantly. It has become intermittent. It is unrepairable due to the intermittent problems and the fact that parts are just no longer available. So I'm fully supportive of this. Second, and thank you, Everett, for the time you spent with me on that. I'll make just a sub part of that. There has been an issue sometimes in Lancaster about people saying, wait a minute, we bought a truck a couple years ago and we sold a truck to another town who refurbished it and they could use it. Why, if it's good enough for Harvard, I think it was it not good enough for us? Everett tracked all that down, got back to me, and there's a good explanation. It was not a pumper that was sold to, in this case, Leominster. It was a pickup truck, which is a much smaller vehicle, and it was used by Leominster in a non-first line kind of use. It is not a vehicle to put out fires. It is a support vehicle. So I think we've answered that question. The second main point is here that my reading of the bylaws for the Finance Committee is we have a duty to make a recommendation on warrant articles that include either the appropriation of funds, the incursion of debt, or transfer of property. This warrant article 1 clearly encompasses both the debt issue and the appropriation issue. I believe we should make a recommendation on that. And Dick, if you think it's appropriate, I would make a motion right now that we do that and take a vote on it. If you want to defer it till later in the meeting, I understand that.
I am not going to accept any motions or votes at this time. But I do consider it very important what you're saying. We will deal with it as an agenda item in nearby future, if that's okay with you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Stan.
A question for Kate, I think it would be, just out of curiosity, what's the current interest rate when we're going to be paying interest only? What's the current rate? Is it going to stay steady where it is now in light of what's potentially going to happen in the world? But do you know offhand? I don't know how much of an expense it is.
The contract that we signed is 5.49% interest.
How much?
5.49. It's on the debt. It's on the debt, man.
Did we sign that the day before they took down 50 basis points or what?
I'm
And
assuming that's
how come that's
rhetorical.
higher than our school loan?
Because
of the size?
Because the loan is not, it's not a bonded loan, it's a lease payment.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, fine. I'm just being a wise guy. I apologize.
And the time frame on that, please. How many years is that?
8. It's 7. It's an interest only for 1 and then 7 equal payments thereafter.
Okay, thank you.
Dick, it's Roy. I'll go back to your comment about the motion.
Yeah.
I have some difficulty in us not making a recommendation before the special town meeting. I would yield to your position as the chair, but I feel it's incumbent upon us that we should be making a recommendation on this and several of the other articles that are on the town warrant for the special town meeting.
Okay, I have no problem with that. First thing is you'll need to have a meeting to discuss them all. Second thing is there's no reason why you can't make the same comments as an individual, not a representative of the finance committee.
Can I just say,
yeah, Emily, go ahead.
So Roy, I think because Roy is new to the board this year, typically, Roy, how we handle that in the past is usually we will do a meeting before the special town meeting for this finance committee and we'll vote on our recommendations then.
And that would be fine, Emily, if we do it then. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that it's absolutely fine as a process and that type of thing. Dick is aware, I believe everyone else is aware. I just will not be available on the 6th, but we have 3 members who, between Stan, you, Emily, and Dick are quorum and could, conduct business. So I'm fine with that then.
Could I ask a question too, Mr. Chairman? What was the reason be for your hesitancy to address this tonight? I'm curious.
Say that again, please.
What would be your reservation about voting on this evening rather than waiting as we have apparently?
Well, first of all, we've got a whole lot more to go through. Second of all, several things have already been passed by the Board of Selectmen without are just up for warrant, and there is no reason why any individual cannot comment. We have not really. Let me ask you this, Stan. Are you going to have time to investigate other towns on pay raises? I think it's Article 4 before the next meeting. I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to be individually informed enough or have done enough work to hold a vote that people could rely upon.
So
It would
I,
be more my impression than my knowledge.
so are you implying that we shouldn't make a recommendation before town meeting?
No, I'm implying that we have that meeting and we discuss whether we do or do not want to at each time. We are not on the warrant. We're not listed anywhere as a recommendation. So we will need to speak up and we will need to get to the, so that we're recognized too. I have no problems with it. No problems at all. We should. It just the timing is doesn't work out that I feel that I'm telling people anything that they don't already know themselves. Perhaps there is, and so we'll have the meeting prior to and find out.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I just want to let you know the article is not about pay raises. That is because our classification and compensation plan has gone through and we didn't have the data back from the grant to be able to implement it for the fire department. And they had decertified from the union, so they didn't have an active classification. We're not raising anybody's, I mean, eventually they're going to get, you know, hopefully cost of living increases, et cetera, but that isn't the impetus behind that article. It's to finalize the classification and compensation plan that the Collins Center did for us.
Well, I understand what's said. To settle this, I will accept a motion to have a meeting prior to the town meeting to discuss the warrant articles and our position. Is anyone willing to make that motion?
I will move that, Dick. I'll make that
Anyone willing
motion.
to second it?
Second, but yes, this special town meeting is October 7th though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there any more discussion?
I may
I'm sorry.
I may have a conflict that evening. So I just have if Roy is going to be out of town, we may not have a quorum.
Well, we will if Stan and Dick and Roy are there. We'll have a quorum.
Well, Roy's going to be out of town.
I cannot be
Oh,
there.
that's right.
I will be out of town, out of the country.
So yeah, I forgot about that, Roy. Thank you.
So is there
Well-
any way we could possibly, if you don't want to do the recommendations tonight, is there a way we could do it sometime next week?
Yeah, I
Well,
would give ourselves enough time. We always seem to be rushing through these things and having difficulties just before a meeting. So let's give it the kind of time it should deserve to have.
And what do you mean by that, Stan?
Well, I think as I recall, we would typically meet at 6 o'clock or half an hour before the regular meeting or in that
Right.
range. It always seems like someone's not there on time. We don't have a quorum. We got to, we try to get hung up on one thing. I'm just saying, let's give ourselves enough time, a good hour before that, so we can talk about this insightfully and thoroughly.
And so what you're suggesting we meet at 5:30 then?
Well, what time is the special town meeting start? Is it 7?
I don't know.
I would say
It is, yeah, it is 7,
7
but you still won't have a quorum.
Yeah.
Well, we may or may not, depending upon Emily. If we don't have a quorum, we can speak as individuals.
but just have it a different date, as I think Emily just
Right,
suggested.
yeah, if there's a date that works for, I think Roy, this was the last week that you were in town, I believe you said, but if there's a date that
That's
works for,
Okay,
Dan
come up
and you
with
next
come up
week, we
with
could-
dates then. Come up with a date. We'll see if we can make it happen.
so I could do next Wednesday, the same time, if that works for anyone else. October 2nd,
What next Wednesday is the 1st, is it?
October 2nd.
October
2nd.
2nd.
You're gone, right, Roy?
Yes, I'm gone. I leave Sunday.
Okay, Stan, what is your
I'm
next
looking at my
Wednesday?
calendar right now, make sure that's October, this Wednesday, October 2,
Yes.
Yes,
and that's when Rosh Hashanah begins sundown.
Oh,
right.
I'm not.
Available.
And I'll be available. So what does this leave us?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear if Stan said he was available. It cut out.
I'm available. for
Okay,
that.
so do we want to do
You
a
can change the
meeting to
motion,
just-
change the motion by the date.
okay, so I will motion that we meet on October 7th at our normal time of 6:15 to finalize recommendations for the warrant articles that apply to the Finance Committee.
Seconded by whom? Stan?
Well, I'm trying to catch up with you. I think, did I hear
Right.
now instead of October 2, I heard October 7?
Yeah, I think
No,
we want October
second.
2nd.
Second, sorry, I said second.
Okay.
Oh, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, am I the only one paying attention here or what?
Right, right.
Just-
Okay, I will second the motion to meet on October 2nd to discuss the
yes.
warrant articles.
6:15, okay, no discussion. Emily,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Roy, even though you won't be available,
Yes,
and Dick, yes, so that's the next meeting. I want to go back to Everett. Everett, is there anything we missed on things you would wish to discuss with us?
No, I truly appreciate the time. I appreciate the questions that came in, the time that people gave me to answer them. And as always, we appreciate everything that you do for the town.
Okay, well, thank you yourself, Everett. Thank you for the information. That moves us down to capital projects. I'm going to skip over discretionary transfers because until I know free cash, until I know the high school, I really don't feel capable of discussing that. Anyone else feel they want to discuss it? Not hearing any, I'll move on to capital projects. First one is the community center. Kate, I guess I will call on you for that one. Is this something, this 130,000 I understand is, we have to spend that in order to get $75,000 worth of grants. Is that true?
Yes.
And I would venture to say I'd like to table this based on the fact that spending 130 to get 75 is good, but is that really something needed right now? Is there any comment from other members of the committee?
Dick, just a question, general question, if you will. Are we trying to achieve a certain amount of dollars in savings at this juncture? Is there a specific amount, a target?
I am. I'm trying to save $1 million. I won't accomplish it, but I'm trying to save at least 120,000 because that covers all of our up above expenses. And I would like that to happen. However,
So
I
I
will
would
not
just say
stand in the
that
way of anyone who wants to go forward.
if I may, the one thing that needs to be factored in here is that, well, there's two things. The first is that the community center right now is using oil, which is very expensive, and use somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 or so gallons. Just in the 6 months that I was able to go through, because it's pretty inefficient over there. And these are HVAC electric mini splits. So that's one. The electric is paid for almost primarily through the solar field. So the expense will be far lower to heat and cool the building. Either way, they can be deferred, of course. Whether or not we are able to access the grant funding remains to be seen. Right now, we haven't done any programs for the green initiative funding for quite some time. And then the other thing is that the master plan calls for the buildings and facilities in the town to be carbon neutral by a certain date. So if we don't spend the money to ensure that our buildings and facilities are carbon neutral, we can't achieve that goal, which is fine, but the point of
Kate?
having a master plan is to
Can I-
do that, I think.
Can I ask a question, Kate? What, the grant funding, where is that coming from?
From green communities.
Okay, because and this may be irrelevant here, but we actually just had mini splits installed at our house, and Mass Save is actually getting rid of their rebates for mini splits. So I'm not sure if there's any possibility that that grant funding will no longer be available in a year or so. So I mean, I would say in order to ensure that we get the grant funding, we need to move forward with this.
Kate, is it possible to do a partial instead of the whole lot? Does it have to be all or nothing, or can it be the most critical areas that need the help for the mini splits? I have one myself; they work great. I just had another one done for my home a month ago, but and I know the cost of oil is lower now, but wait till they have the next blockade and it'll skyrocket. But is there a possibility of doing a partial installation of the mini splits?
This actually is a partial because we're only doing the gymnasium, the cafe, and the main programming building. We're not doing any of the offices or hallways.
Okay. Can we do a
total
partial?
cost for the building was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 400,000.
And
Okay.
based on the presentation that you gave the other night, I would say like the current HVAC system is in really bad shape with the leaking and everything too. So
It is, yeah. It's certainly is.
I'm in favor of this. No, stop.
You're in favor of it?
I'm in favor of the 130 for to get the
Okay.
75,000. Yes.
Kate and Cheryl, what I'm going to ask is, well, these are going to be recommendations in our feelings. Will you adjust the dollar amounts to what we approve with or without a vote? So that in the end, we have a finance committee recommendation. Sure, you understand what I'm saying? If we had canceled this, and we are not, if we had, I would like you to take it out.
Okay, yes, yep.
But if we approve it, leave it
Leave it
in,
in.
and if we change the amount, change it to that amount, so that when we're all done, we have a form that represents what the finance committee believes in.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I can save this and have it be finance committee's recommendation and put the date, and then it is a snapshot in time for that.
Okay. Now, so let us, any other comments on the building improvement for the community center?
Yeah, Dick, it's Roy.
Yes,
Having
Roy.
listened to this discussion, I would say that this item in my mind would be, quote, on the bubble, in the sense of if we have to cut something based on the total amount that we need, I would say that we either, as Stan suggested, look to reduce it, even though I hear that it's a partial as it is, or maybe eliminate it. I would say I would put it as a lower priority and put it on the bubble. If we can fund it, fine. I'm not opposed to it. If we have trouble with the total overall amount, I would probably strike this one or reduce it as much as we could.
All right, Kate, can you put a no decision or a bubble thing in a different color? Yeah, something like that, so that we all right. I think that's it. I'm not going to take a vote on all these. I just want to hear and get a general consensus.
Could I ask another question?
The parking lots.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I, quick question in here, thinking if in fact the 130 is going to be reduced possibly, will that affect the rebate proportionately?
Yes,
It doesn't mean we lose it. It just means if we do 65, we get 37.50.
we will lose it because we had to say that we were going to clean up, quote unquote, at least a third of the area that's utilized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be available if we.
Kate, if in the future you could clarify what the threshold is and where it's linear, we would lose some, and where we lose it all in terms of the rebate, that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so that was in my explanation memo that I sent along with all my documents.
Any more comments on that? Regrade and pave the parking areas at the Prescott Old Town Hall and Community Center. $30,000.
So that is just for the materials that are in addition to what DPW may purchase. And that's based on an old figure that the former DPW superintendent gave. We kicked this can down the road last year. So clearly we've been operating without doing it for some time.
Any comments from members?
This is a quick question. Will this give us any more parking spots or just the same number with better surfaces?
We're looking to add more parking, in particular, down below in the community center. That would be like a pull-in parking lot, and then some way to minimize people who might have a driving mishap and continue to drive straight when they go down that. That did happen to an individual, and we had to call the fire department and have that person's car taken out, etc. So that does happen. It only happened once. And then we would be looking, depending on what we have for resources left after we do that, to add some additional parking up here in back of the Prescott building, sort of where the shed is.
And Kate, another question that I always curious about too, does that include, underline the word, regrading and paving behind Old Town Hall, the exit road going out, which has been a horrible situation for a long time?
It does not, no.
Because
that ended up getting pretty expensive because there's a drainage problem over there. So if we were going to pave it, we would want to take care of the drainage issue first, or else we're just going to end up with an erosion problem, 12 months after we pave it.
Okay.
That was $475,000. So we left that out.
Well, what are your thoughts from members on the paving? Do it or don't do it?
I am in support of the paving.
Okay, Stan?
yeah, I can waver. I can make a bubble for me as well. I can go either way, Dick.
Okay, and Roy?
Yeah, I would put it on the bubble too.
And I'd put it on the bubble. So if we change that to yellow. This next one is from Cheryl. Cheryl, this is equipment you would like to have, I understand.
Yes, it is.
Comment on this, please.
This package that I would like to get will do our budget, will assist in the budgeting. And the good part about it, instead of me doing all those individual manual Excel sheets, the software we're using right now will export into budget sheets with all the past history, and department heads can actually just go online, make their entries. When they're finished, they submit, and it comes over to Kate and I, and we can look at it and make our comments and final decisions, and it's all automated and complete. It also has a transparency package where I'm sure you've seen it on other communities where it will give you information as to the median income of the town, how much we're spending on particular schools, and other items. And you can look, a resident could look at, what's the town spending on gasoline or oil or whatever it is they choose to look at. And I think it would save a lot of manual labor by getting this software.
Okay, any comments from anyone?
Yeah, this is Roy. I'm in support of getting some better budget software. I think Kate and Cheryl have done yeoman work on the budgeting package they've put together for us over the last couple of years, but we clearly need an overall organized system to be able to do this. on an ongoing basis.
Okay,
It's
Stan?
nice it has resident access. That's not a big benefit to me, but okay. I get it for the budgeting aspects.
And Emily?
Also in support. I do just want to mention someone has their hand up. I don't know if you want to mention that we
Oh.
don't have public comment on the agenda.
No. Is that Regina Brown?
Yes, sir.
Regina, we're getting to you soon, but not public comment. All right, so I am in favor of the 19,502, so we'll leave it there. The fire miscellaneous equipment has been withdrawn, so we can take that out, please.
Right. It's
Cross through?
yeah, it's crossed through.
The what?
There's a cross through it.
I know there's a cross in it, but I don't even want to see it there anymore. There should be nothing without, you can do whatever you want. All right,
Okay.
let's get to the DPW.
There you go.
It's gone.
The DPW, and we have here from the DPW, Doug. Who else is from DPW? Please make yourself known. Are you there, Doug?
Doug and Rick Craffey are both signed on.
I didn't hear you.
Good evening, sir. Yes, I'm here. I'm down the Cape and I'm having horrible Wi-Fi connections right now. And Mr. Carafi, the other commissioner, is also on.
Rick Craffey is present too.
Okay, great. So let's go through all of the DPW things, starting with the waste oil furnace in the replacement center. Is that how you get rid of it, or how you burn it, or what is it for?
Yes, the waste furnace oil is a little over 15 years old. And what that is we use oil from multiple businesses in town and the highway barn to heat the building. We do use a little on heating oil from our contractors, but mostly we use drain oil from vehicles, from donations from citizens, businesses in town, the trucks itself. So we have approximately 15 years out of the old furnace. And as you can see, the replacement is, I can't see too good because where I'm at is 15,000. So it's been costing the town roughly, and not exactly, but $1,000 a year to heat that barn with recycled oil. And as we all know, how we heat our houses with fuel oil, that's pretty cheap, $1,000 per year.
Yeah, is the alternative no heat, or I mean,
Well,
is
the
there
alternative
any other way to heat that, and what would it cost?
Yeah, yes. If we don't use recycling oil, we use a regular furnace, which we buy at our state bid market price, like what the town hall gets, what the police station gets. So then our heating costs will go through the roof. Do we save money with this? Absolutely. The oil we get to heat the place is free. We just have to buy a furnace.
Do you take oil from any place other than yourselves?
Yes, we do. From town businesses, the garages, donations from citizens itself. A lot of people do bring down, a lot of people still change their oil home and they bring it down to the highway barn.
Okay, good. Well, is there any more discussion by any member on this?
Well, I think was, Mr. Chairman, again, I think what was just flashed up here with Taramo about advertising. I didn't know this even existed. Not that I changed my oil, but if you can advertise it, I would think it'd be a good thing for both the residents and saving
this plan's been in place since Jack, Sonia, and God bless Ray Johnson, who used to work on furnaces. He got the first furnace, about 24 years approximately use out of it, because, well, he was a furnace guy. He retired, and as you know, he retired. We got a new furnace, and fortunately, as we all know, new equipment do not last like they used to.
Amen.
But we can, yes, we can definitely promote it on our website, on our Facebook site.
Good. Is there any environmental law against burning waste oil?
Not at the moment. You know, of course,
Okay,
eventually
okay,
when
good. I just want to make sure that if we promote it, it's something that we can do. Okay, the next one here is Chapter 90, a new truck. Now, two questions. First question is, will Chapter 90 pay all $425,000?
well, with that with question, and it only buys a truck. It does not get outfitted with a sander or a snowplow. That much I do not want to give a question. I don't know. If it is, yes, it'll take a lot out of our Chapter 90 budget. And as you know, that money's we use for redoing roads for public safety. And
Now,
fortunately, just like everything else, tires going up.
I was
Paving
told
roads.
the last time we met that we have snow plows available.
Correct.
We don't have to buy a new snow plow because we're buying a truck, do we?
I'm sorry, can you go again? They're broken up.
I apologize. We don't have to buy a new snow plow because we bought a new truck, do we?
Fortunately, we're behind about replacing equipment just due to the pandemic. We did have a truck on the table. We forfeited it back, which was a blessing because that truck went to a neighboring town and the barn caught on fire due to that truck, and it was a new truck. So that was a blessing itself. But we're behind the 8 ball about replacing trucks.
Well, we're replacing
We
a
don't
truck.
have to replace a plow, but with a new truck, we definitely need a new plow. It's a 10-wheeler.
Well, what?
Okay,
Is it a different plow? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, you have to go with a new plow because the technology that's on that truck is 19 years old. That truck itself is much larger than the regular trucks you see. It's a 10-wheeler. That goes up to our north section of town. It's able to carry more payload sand and plow all the roads up in that area basically by itself. It's a brute. You actually see it in front of the highway barn.
Okay, well, if it's a different truck, a different plow, what are we doing with the old plow that was on the truck that we're getting rid of?
Scrap. It's just as old as the truck itself, is 19 years old. We're lucky we got that many years out of the truck and definitely the plow itself.
All right, I'm looking for comments from members of the committee. How necessary? I guess I'll ask this: how necessary is the replacement be this year versus next year?
Right? Can we defer it?
Oh boy,
I would rather.
Price wise, it's going up,
Yeah.
and as you see right now, it's $425,000. Is about a 2-year wait on this truck to build it. And that's with everything out there. I mean, it could be Joe Citizen to go out and buy the identical truck. He'll have to wait to get it built. So the priority, yes, we need it definitely. If we order it now, we'll probably have it online, hopefully within a 1.5 to 2 years after it's built.
Doug, I would agree with you.
Kate, is this a problem with approving money again?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Craffey.
Doug, I would agree with you on that because the cost of that truck is only going to continue to go up each year. And the same with the plow that we're going to also need with the plow and the sander. That's just going to continue to go up. So the longer we wait on this truck, the more it's going to cost the town.
Correct.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have a comment when you're ready for the comments again.
Who is this? I didn't hear.
Emily.
Emily, yes, please go ahead, Emily.
I just wanted to say that I am in support of the remaining items. I think I've kind of made it clear that I'm in support of all these, but I think that the presentation that we had Kate do at the last joint meeting with the select board was sufficient for me to make my decision. So I am in support of this new truck. I think it's obviously needed.
Okay, that's great. Stan, you have a feelings on this?
I hate to be in the middle, but no, I'm more in favor of it than not in light of what was, I
Uh,
defer to the,
Roy?
Yeah, I agree. Based on the last presentation, I'm clearly in support of replacing the highway barn. I am basically in support of the large vehicle, but to be clear, this is in the FY26 budget, so we wouldn't be buying this until uh, July of next year at the earliest, or contracting for it, correct?
That was
It
my
wouldn't be
point I was
delivered until
asking Kate.
28 nominally.
Are you still there, Kate?
I'm here. If it would be an FY26, I mean, they would have to bid it. I don't know how, I don't know how
We were
long.
talking about when the money would leave the town. The
I mean,
year.
it could leave it. It's available to leave the town July 1st of 25.
Of 25, but it's fiscal 26 is when we could place that. We can't place this order this fiscal year, correct?
Correct. Yes.
I'm just worrying about that problem of being reapproving it another year. Is that going to be the same type deal?
No, this is not a lease. It's paid in full through Chapter 90.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, then I'm in favor of it too. Well, we lost something. Can you go back to there's the roof?
Yeah, no. I'm there. It just my screen froze for whatever
Okay.
reason.
Replace the roof at the highway barn. You want to tell us what the leak is or how long it's been going on? What's happening with that?
The barn itself, the roof's leaking. It's been leaking for the past several years, and it's just getting worse. That roof on there now is, I've been on the board since '99, and I think we repaired it back then. I don't recall us ever putting a new roof on the highway barn. This is the barn that's located on Center Bridge Road. It's a flat roof. It's half of it is gravel. That's how old it is. So replacing it, yeah, it's $100,000 roughly cost. We do it now, but it'd be great. But if we prolong it, we're going to talk about structural damage eventually, just like any other building, just like our own residents' roofs. It needs to be done. It's leaking. The more long, if we prolong this, the cost is just going to go up, and eventually it's going to affect the structure.
Okay, is it leaking in several areas or one general area?
Several areas, and keep in mind that's a flat roof.
I understand. Now, this is going to sound silly, but has anyone seen those ads on TV about renewing your roof with a spray?
Be a lot of cans of Flex Seal. Believe me, if we could do it, we would. Just like how we prolonged the life on that 10-wheeler, 19 years. If we could prolong this roof, we would do that in a heartbeat.
Well, have we investigated it? Have we asked someone to come out and give a bid on it?
No, we haven't. And keep in mind, it's covered with gravel. I'm sorry, what, sir? Go again.
Do you think that's something we ought to do? Get someone else to take a look at renewing rather than replacing? $100,000, a lot of money.
I feel like, Mr. Chair, I feel like that, not to be like too blunt here, but I feel like that might be a waste of everyone's time.
But I didn't hear that.
I feel like that might be a waste of time. I think they've kind of already gone through that whole process of getting the quotes to find out how much it would be to repair it.
All right, Stan, you have any thoughts?
a lot of thoughts, not necessarily on this though. No, I'm okay with the replacing the roof as shown here at the 100,000.
Okay, and Roy?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the roof replacement.
Okay, then we support it.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else from DPW that we have not talked about that you would like to go over? I understand that the street truck you removed.
The,
We're not
the street
requesting
truck, or
that
what do you mean?
anymore.
The catch basin truck?
I'm sorry.
What truck you talking about?
At the Board of Selectmen, there was a white panel truck, a white truck shown as a street truck needed.
That was
And
you.
I don't see that anywhere on here, but it
I
was
think that-
requested.
Wasn't that just a picture, Kate? It wasn't like actually a request for it. It was just the wrong picture, wrong truck.
Right, it was the wrong picture, and that replacement is happening in it's requested for FY 27.
So there's no expense for that. Is there anything else in DPW that we should be going over?
The
Yeah,
deck.
I'm just. Hello.
The deck.
I'm just curious about one thing. Back to the town hall paving about buying the material, and they're talking about us paving the parking lot, which would be great. But I'm trying to figure out how we will do it because we don't actually have a spreader or roller to do that.
To do the regrade and the paving?
It was tacked on to a contract that you all would have for that, and it was in addition to.
Okay, so it'll be a contractor doing. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
I mean, that was based on. It was not last year. It was in last year's capital plan and cut from it this year. So, it's possible that it's going to be more than that, but.
Okay, well, as long as we can do the best we can with the monies, get the job done. If it's a contractor, absolutely. Fortunately, we don't have we used to do it, but I think the only person that knows how to do it anymore that has any experience is probably the superintendent. All the old timers left. That was the only question I had.
Anyone else have anything on DPW at this time?
I think Kate had something else to say.
Just the debt.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kate.
The debt.
The debt.
The water debt.
I don't have any information on that, so I'm thinking Doug and Rick likely do.
The debt for the water lines.
Oh, the
Yes.
water line.
Oh, the
Okay,
water
yeah.
line. Okay.
Oh, that's very important. Thank you. What happens there with you've got a request about a 2 million versus 4 million also?
It was originally
I got 4 million is what we were told.
correct. That was the feed you gave us, $4 million to do that, Kate.
I didn't give you that.
Well, I came from somewhere. It didn't come from us. We had a $4 million bond last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is approving 2 million.
No, we authorized 4 million at town meeting.
Okay.
And what
We did.
happened?
It was,
Let me be clear. So just because I think this has gone back and forth. My office doesn't supervise, as you know, the DPW. So the former superintendent came in a year and a half ago and asked to put that on the warrant, saying that you all voted for it and that's what you wanted. So it isn't incumbent upon me or anybody else to not put another elected body's information on the warrant. So it went on and it passed. And when you all went to go bond it, there was a number of questions that bond counsel asked that could not be answered. And so that's where we stand. But you have an authorization to borrow $4 million. I don't know where the number comes from. I don't know what it's based on. I don't even know what it's for. And I've written and asked for that, but I haven't received any of that from you all, and I don't have to, but that's why I can't speak to it, because I don't know.
Do we have a definition of what roads, what will be done with the $4 million? I keep hearing over on off of Route 62 over there and over here on Harvard Road with lead pipes. Is that what we're dealing with, lead pipes, or are we dealing with mains, etc.?
We're dealing with mains, and the area we're talking about is up off of 62. It'll be off of Chase Hill area. I do not have a list in front of me. But that is the area that we are looking at. Chase Hill, which will improve water quality at Moffett and South Meadow Road.
Okay, where do you plan to get the $4 million? I guess is the question. We supposedly approved it. Did you expect the town to give it? Is it the town that's going to pay it?
I think it's a bond
Authorization, right? So they have authority to bond it.
Right.
But they
So
don't
now
have,
they need to figure out where is the money coming from to appropriate it. That is the issue.
exactly.
And I don't know the answer. Does anyone know where should it come from?
It should come from the water enterprise.
Which has 2,500,000 in free cash, right? 2,600,000.
They have 2,500,000 in retained earnings right now. Yes.
Okay, so you don't have $4 million. Where does the other 1.5 million come from?
I believe
how
this.
is it supposedly raised?
I believe the superintendent said at the last joint meeting that he was hoping to make up some of that with rate increases. But Kate said that it would run out.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, my concern is the rate increases doesn't impact the entirety of the persons who are paying for it, which is by design, and I commend that. But the problem is I don't think the rate increases are going up enough to be able to cover what the superintendent passed in a couple months ago is a borrowing for $2 million. Can I turn to the debt plan for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so what the superintendent put in at the budget request was a borrowing authorization for $4 million and then another one for $2 million the following year. I'm not seeing where I'm putting that in here.
Where is your pointer? I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not.
There it is.
This isn't the right. Hold on one second. Sorry.
Oh, I know.
I gotta pull up the other debt plan because it
That's the big
didn't.
one, yeah. The 6-year plan
Yeah.
on there.
Can I talk while you're doing that, Kate?
Yeah. So this is it. I apologize.
That is it. Yeah.
So down here, it was a 4 million authorization and then another 1.5 after that, and then another 2. The concern comes with how you're going to pay, in the years that it's $1 million. See, in anticipated FY28 is when you're paying old debt to new debt, and it gets even worse if you add another one in FY30. It's over $1 million. So I don't know how these numbers came to be, and maybe I don't need to. But the problem is if it can't be covered by the enterprise, then it falls back on the town. So just.
Right, Kate, and that I think is the brief discussion we had at the joint meeting, where if the enterprise can't pay it, the town is responsible for it. So I think it behooves the finance committee to ask for more detail around this so that we can understand and be comfortable that we understand how this can be paid for out of the enterprise revenues.
Well, okay, Roy, but I would like to ask, you see that $2 million out there in the total borrowing?
This one.
That one, okay.
I would like to ask, what why do we think that there was to replace lead pipes on Harvard Road? That $2 million was for that and other areas around. Where did this replacing mains come from at that 4 million? So I'm saying the same thing. Can someone define what it is we think we approved? I have no idea what it is anymore.
My understanding was the water main on Chase Hill Road. If there was any lead pipes that need to be replaced, that would be a #1 priority. That is why Haley Ward is doing the survey, asking people what they have in the house. Because fortunately, we do not have the records that go back over 100 years, and we're asking the public to give us a hand on this. So anything with the services lead pipes, that will be replaced. But a lead water main, I do not know that the town has anything such like that. And if they did and we knew about it, that would be the #1 priority to change, and that would be something immediately done just for water quality.
Well,
Dougie, they'd be lead jumpers going from the main to the water service that would feed the house. That's where there would be lead in the ground. There should be absolutely no lead mains.
No, none at all. I would
Right.
expect a wooden main versus a lead one in this town.
They're just lead jumpers. They're small pieces of lead that go from the main to the service that feeds the house.
Correct.
Yep.
But fortunately, the past few years, the prices of things has skyrocketed. Maybe we have to go back to the drawing board and reassess things about this water main. Water rates going up. Fortunately, yes, they are. They will. Next spring, we'll probably have to go up. We're going a high percentage just to subsidize things, which is a recommendation from the DOR. The DOR recommends that we do this yearly now.
okay, well, we seem to have two questions in front of us, one of which is lead pipe. And what is that definition and was it ever discussed? And the other is water mains at $4 million, I guess. And where is that? What is this? I am not in a position to recommend anything because I don't know the problems involved. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on that? On the committee?
This is Roy.
Yeah.
Kate, can you do a quick tabulation on the borrowing costs out there in column Q? Because my rough calculation is, right, of those, what, 5 numbers there? If you just highlight the cursor over all of them, it'll give you a quick number. Yeah, it's 13 million. 13 million is a lot of money. And right, Dick, I clearly don't understand enough to be able to say I could be supportive of that. I don't understand from the discussion what it's being used for, what's critical, those kinds of things. That's a lot of money. And as Kate has pointed out, when you get to $1 million per year as debt service, that really is a strain on, and that's an increase over where we are now. That's a real strain on the water users. So yes, I think we need more clarification and more information about this and how it's going to be paid for plan in terms of what the rates would need to look like to fund this cost and expense.
Doug, and can anyone tell me about and I'm agreeing with you, Roy, the necessity, I mean, the public health necessity of doing any of this. That's what I'm mostly concerned with. If someone doesn't have water, has water through bad pipes or something, we need to address it before the Board of Health does.
That's what we're addressing. That's what we're addressing now. The bad water. I mean, the water quality is good, but these people are getting brown water from the system. We're going to have a brand new system from A to Z. You got to keep in mind, as soon as it's done, you have to start over again. This is a system, and every single town, municipality is dealing with this. Every town that has a water enterprise that supply water, you're always doing updates and rebuilding the system. It's a continuous work in motion.
Why is that? Or maybe it is. Is that included in the enterprise budget for the water system each year?
We try to include it, but the past few years, every improvement we have, I mean, even though you don't see us doing mains, we have the water department out there replacing pipes, breaks, services, meters. It's being done. But fortunately, the main problem we're having in some of these areas and towns, it's not your service or meter or coming from the wells. It's the pipes itself. The pipes are so old that they need to be replaced. Even though the countless of flushing the system, you're still getting debris. And that's where our rust is coming from. And these people deserve better water quality.
So is there not a replacement of pipe charge in the water enterprise budget?
On a yearly basis?
It has to be done as an enterprise item, a capital item?
I would say, I would believe it, yes, it's done out of the enterprise. Yes, it should be done yearly.
There's pipes every year for like 35,000 to the water. So I assume those are small pipes that go to homes.
Mm-hmm.
The $4 million that was approved at last town meeting was for the engineering, design, construction, reconstruction, and installation of water mains.
And that was approved.
And
why are we discussing it if it was approved? Because we can't afford it or what?
Yes.
We can't afford it.
Is there a position where we can not afford it? I mean, where we're going to be forced to do it anyhow?
Eventually, we'll be forced to do it.
Can it be done in various stages, 2 million at a time?
That's what we're grabbing right now. The original plan, as someone said, it was over $10 million. Yes, and it's been downgraded due to cost, our overhead, and what we're bringing in yearly. I would love to see the $13 million project now because we save money in the long run, but we can't afford that. And the longer we wait, just like everything else, the prices are going up. It's disgusting what we're paying out, but it has to be done. One time, the department, the DPW, were able to do their own water mains. Now that technology, it's out the window. I mean, it has to be engineered and it's done by contractors. We don't have enough manpower to do it anymore, or the knowledge.
So am I correct in saying that no money has been approved for replacing what was called lead pipe?
They started, in lead pipe, I'm sorry. They started this whole big project back in 2008 when they borrowed the first $2 million. And then the next borrowing got us to where we are. And now I think what happened is the $4 million request, there's no backup to that request. What will $4 million do for us? So I think the realistic number for that $4 million is at least $2 million, if not less.
I believe the figure is going to be about $2 million, be like 6,000 feet. I believe that's what was given to me. That's not a lot.
What is it we're trying to decide tonight? You've already got approval to bond $4 million, and it didn't work. Now what are you asking for?
I was informed that we should downgrade it to a $2 million.
And is that what you're asking of the finance committee to consider?
Whatever we can get, we'll do. I mean, even a little bit. It has to be done, Dick. It has to be done.
And
no matter what.
Is that $2 million borrowed, or is that $2 million from your capital fund?
I believe that's going to be borrowed. What's in the enterprise, we try to keep as I hate to say a nest egg, because if something happens, we have the cash on hand to repair. We'll call it the rainy day fund. It sounds like a lot of money, but in reality, it's not.
It's also.
I want to ask the other members of the committee for their comments, please. How you'd like to proceed?
I'd like to see it as like a capital myself. and kind of leave it out of the water enterprise fund?
It would still be the water enterprise fund.
Okay.
Who just said that? I didn't see.
Rick Craffy?
Rick, okay, thanks, Rick. Well, members of the finance committee, Roy, you got anything else you'd like to say?
Right. I would like to see some kind of a plan sketched out over a couple of years for what are we replacing in what parts of town, and what are the best estimate of costs for those and that kind of thing. Understand the health reasons and, prioritize that around, prioritize what we do based on health issues in any places you feel you've got significant leaks you've got to go after or those kinds of things. Prioritize it based on what you know. But I need to see a plan and then I need to see the revenue side of that to see how we're going to pay for this.
Hey, Stan, do you have any comments on this, please? Are you there, Stan? Let me move to Emily. Emily, do you have any?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, if I'm right, we did have this plan done by Hilly and Ward, and these are prioritized areas that need to be done. But I am on board about the cost study of it because, like I said, everything's going up, and we as tax citizens and payers, we're the ones paying for it out of our pocket by using water.
Right.
But these roads are being questioned. They're in the top priority list.
Okay.
We do have a copy of that study. I will ask our superintendent, Mr. McDonald, to send you guys a update of it.
Okay. And just to be clear, it's the enterprise water users. It's not the general taxpayers who are paying for this, correct?
That is correct. That is why you saw us go up only 5% in the upper tiers for the people who use water. And fortunately, and the next pay raise, it'll be going right to, all levels.
Mm-hmm.
So we're asking for non-water users to pay for water users. Is that what you're saying?
On the next hike, as you know, it's all based on tiers. The first tier people on that last increase did not pay the increase, but on the next rate, it'll be a rate right across the whole board. Yes, all water users.
Emily, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I remember that the presentation that it was given to us when this was approved at town meeting. I mean, I do agree with the reduction to 2 million. I understand that it's going to, obviously this needs to happen and things like that, but if we can't pay for it out of the water enterprise fund, I don't think we can bond something that's going to then fall back on the rest of the town. So I would be in support of the 2 million for now.
You would be in support of the what?
The reduction to 2 million for now.
Okay. Stan, are you still there? I don't see. I see his microphone.
Yeah, I think he went to get a glass of water.
Yeah, probably.
Well, sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
Stan, do you have any comments on this?
No, I agree with everything that's been put forth. I mean, you just have to plan. You may not be able to do what we want to do, but we've got to begin the process. I don't know what else to offer. I don't have any mystery. I wish we can develop more land in this town to support this, but that train left.
Mr. Chairman, it's so bad in these areas and towns that people have a water filters on in their households, and these filters are disgusting. They're literally, it looks like a clogged mud. It looks like they're drinking water from Africa. That's how bad it is.
Okay.
Can I just say, like, I'm one of those people. We have a whole house filter. I would love to be able to approve this and have the whole 4 million be able to be funded, but the reality of it is that we don't have enough money in the water enterprise fund. And I think until we can raise those rates enough where we can get to the $4 million, it's just not a responsible decision for the taxpayers.
So,
I agree.
Emily, you're assuming that the $2 million is going to come from the water enterprise free
No.
cash.
No, the $2 million is the bond, but they have, from my understanding, and Kate, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that if we reduce it to a $2 million bond, they are able to, will be able to pay the $2 million bond from the water enterprise fund, whereas the $4 million, yeah,
Almost, not quite yet. What this
So
year,
there's
on the budget
better
they're
chance.
operating on for fiscal 25, right now, it looks like they'll have a $76,000 surplus from
Wow.
their revenue to their budget. The
Wow.
cost for a $2 million bond is going to be roughly $250,000 a year.
Why would we bond it if we have the money?
Because they
Because
want
you can't spend all your retained earnings on the
I
bond.
know you can't, but
You could use it for the first couple of payments possibly, but that would be the most, 2 payments.
I
don't think that the rates have increased at
No.
at a time that is reasonable to pay this. And you know, I don't think anybody's saying that the work shouldn't be done. So to the extent that, it's, people have, I get it that people have terrible water. The issue is being able to pay the bill once the money is borrowed. It isn't the worthiness of the project. The project is absolutely worthy. It's where is the financial analysis on what you're borrowing. And by the way, we average that at 3%. And I don't think it's going to come up at 3%. So, I mean, Cheryl and I ran the numbers, but I think we need to be realistic. So, if I was like Joe Q citizen listening to this, it would seem like we're trying to decide on the worthiness of the project, and no one is saying that the project isn't necessary. It's concerning because if the project was necessary and brought up years ago, then it would have been a good idea to go through and start looking at the revenues that are coming in and making sure that you're collecting the revenues to be able to pay for it, like we are doing in the school and the other things like that. So I don't know who does that. I've seen the Haley and Ward, and I think that's great, but it doesn't talk about a repayment schedule. So I'm trying to figure out like who's responsible for drafting the repayment schedule. Is that the DPW commissioners?
I don't know. I have an awfully hard time for people not being able to drink or use the water, for having to rinse their clothes second and third time because they come up brown.
Well, then the alternative to that, Dick, is that you bond it through the town and not through the water department. I'm not advocating for that, but that's the only other option. And that's, I think, what Mr. Crappy was saying was, okay, then if we've decided as a town that this is an imminent need and it needs to happen, then the town can bond it. But again, we need to go through a process here at the finance committee about what that's going to cost over and above what's already being paid. That's a policy decision.
That's right. That's right. I fully understand. And I think it's time to make a hard decision. I'd like to ask the rest of the committee members what their thoughts are right now as to whether we add 2,500,000 or 2,800,000 into what we are suggesting. Remember, we're only suggesting be approved, or whether we eliminate it. Stan?
I don't know. I don't know what to think, Doug. I really don't. I'm listening to all the conversations and I don't know.
Roy?
Yeah, Dick, I guess I would be strongly opposed to merging the water enterprise borrowing into the town's borrowing. That's a line, we crossed that, wow. I don't know what to do after that point. I would like to see, as I've indicated, a financial plan for how we pay for this. And then if there's a shortfall, then maybe we can discuss what the town may do. But I don't want to go there without seeing a good financial plan. And Kate, I appreciate what you and Cheryl have done to make an estimate of this. I agree with your point about, I would ask you to, the next time you do it, increase the interest rate. Because I think, yeah, 3% is probably way too low at this point. So I need to see a financial plan before I would, that I think is the next step. And I would be against bringing that debt from the enterprise into the town's debt.
Yeah, you know, one quick interjection here, please, and I think about this some more here, is it would be the absolute last resort. If it had to get done, it would be the very last resort available. And we still need to know, as Roy has mentioned a number of times, we need a plan. We need to know what's coming, when it's coming. And that's my comment.
What are you going to say to the people who are sitting with brown water now? What are you going to say to them now? You turned it down? Or
but we're not,
we're working on it for a plan.
but it's not like you're bringing it. This is going back to Kate's point where you're saying, you're making it seem like it's us as the finance committee is saying that this is not a needed project. It's kind of like, that's not true at all. Like it's obviously a needed project. We're not saying anything to the people whose water is brown. I'm one of those people. My water is brown. I understand. However, I don't want the town to take on this debt when it should be the debt of the Water Enterprise Fund. So the DPW has not given us the information that we need in order to move forward with this. Kate has asked for it. She hasn't gotten it. And so I think that's I don't know whose responsibility it is on the DPW board or the commission or anyone to give us this information, the financial information to say how they are going to be able to pay it back. But realistically, we don't have that. So to just turn it around and say, like, what are we going to say to the people whose water is brown is the DPW hasn't given us the information that we need in order to approve this.
Okay.
Is what I'm going to say. Yeah.
You've said exactly what I think is a summation of the thing. And Doug, I think we're going to probably ask you to come back with a plan for us. Is that a consensus, Stan? Are you all right with them asking to come back for a plan?
Absolutely.
And maybe at the following fall town meeting, we get involved with it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, the plan is and was in the past few years, we asked about increases, and it came back through our superintendent left us saying that he talked to the powers to be up at the town hall, and at that time they said no increase.
Absolutely not.
Well, I can't answer.
No, that's fundamentally untrue. We have absolutely nothing to do with what you all do. Absolutely nothing. And I have been saying that, and I've put it in writing for years.
Yeah, you're right, Kate. And you know what? Now's not the time to do this. I mean, we've talked about this, and I think that'll be a meeting for another day. Fortunately, in the past, the TAs used to help us, but you point out that is not your job. That is fine. We can accept that. We have to go forth on this. We have an issue, and we all have to work together on this. Fortunately, we have not raised the rates in the past few years, and we got behind the 8 ball, plain and simple. The rates have to be raised before we can even march on. Plain and simple. Yeah, we'll work with Scott, the other commissioners, hopefully with the TA and the finance. This is something we all have to work together, people.
How about giving us a cost plan where you use a sufficient amount of your free cash and ask the town for a smaller amount? Are you amenable to try that?
I'd rather use it through the enterprise. I don't want to put any more burden on the town with the overrides that happen. We have to, the water enterprise was made to keep the water system up and floating, so it won't be added to our taxes. It's, it was based on what we use. Going after the taxpayers and paying tax to the water system, I'm totally against. It has to be paid to the enterprise.
Well, I don't think we solved anything here tonight then, have we?
No, not at all. So I would say recommend take it off the table and we reassess and come back with a plan. And everybody has to work together on this.
Right. I think that's the next step. We need that plan.
All right, let us, for the sake of non-argument, let us agree to that tonight. And we look forward to, as soon as you can, coming back to us with a plan.
All right. Like I said, we'll be talking to the other boards, finance, the TA, the selectmen, and see what we can do about this matter.
Okay.
We got to keep in mind, we all have to work together. We can't work against each other.
No, I'm 100% agreement with you, Douglas, but
I don't think
it's
anyone's
obvious that
suggesting
work
we
needs
work
to be
against
done, so let's do it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, Doug, and
Mr. Carafi, he's out there somewhere.
well, there we are,
Yeah.
Ricky. There you are, Rick.
Ricky.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. We're only halfway there, gang. I hope you're into it. Because now we come to the library. What, you want to go to the sheet with the library on it? That would be the debt plan V2. I think that's where it is.
I think it's right here.
It's in the library building.
Do you see it?
Can you increase the size a bit?
Yes, thank you.
Ooh. I can, but you can't see all the,
We don't need to go way out. Let's just get the first proposed.
oh, okay. Well, so this is the debt plan done for 2.5 million. But then you all received the cost outs for 2.5 and 5. But
Well-
I believe that Joe Muley and Emily Rose are here this evening.
Emily and Joe, you had a dollar item presentation at the Board of Selectmen. Do you have that available with you tonight? To do the roof, I'm talking strictly about the roof, et cetera now. I don't want to get into the whole building. That's another topic. The roof was $911,000, as I recall. Roof and concrete.
Let me, yes, that's right. That's right. About in that ballpark.
Can you bring those up? Maybe we can.
Did I have a slide actually of just the roof? I'm not sure I remember.
It was a slide called Roof and Concrete.
Oh, all right. Let me see if I can do that for you. Okay, so that is here. How do you want me to share my screen?
I don't know. I'm an idiot. You have to work that out with Cheryl. I guess so.
How do you want to do this, guys?
I think you should be able to share your screen, Joe.
All right, let me see. Idiots unite.
That's me,
Well, that's me too.
as far as computers go.
Well, I have a broader
There we go.
range. Nick. Can you see this?
Yes, you can.
All right. So I think you're talking about this, or are you talking about
Where's the $911,000?
so here it is.
There it is. 911,462 in fiscal year 2026. And
Yeah.
what is that's roof and masonry improvement costs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. First thing is, and my questions, and then I'll open it to the committee. What kind of roof are we talking about? As I go by, I think I see a tile roof, don't I?
It's a slate roof?
The slate roof. Is the repair in the slate roof?
I think the repair is on the copper and the gutters. A snow fence needs to be put into place. We have a dangerous situation during the winter when snow builds up on the eaves and on the front of the original structure. They literally fall and could absolutely land on a person. I'm not sure how there was never a fence in place to begin with. So let me just
So
see.
then, so is this, I took this and probably incorrectly, that the roof was leaking. The roof is not leaking
Oh, in places it's definitely leaking. Here's a
into the building?
Yes, here are a couple of things in the division that we're talking about. New metal flashing, new membrane roofing system at all roofs, flat roofs, perimeter sealant at all restored window units where brick molding meets the brick masonry. So that's that. And then I believe I included the masonry, which also was repointing everything exterior to the building in the basement.
That's part of the what you call the masonry work.
Yes.
And is the repointing, I find this hard to believe, is that causing leaks into the building?
Well, you might find it hard to believe, but we have pointing that swelled so much from ice melt off, and we believe in one area the damage done to this area brick roof is absolutely leading to a leak that's coming into the newer structure. So if you can imagine on a flat roof, there's brick that's lined up where the reference room and the reference room becomes perpendicular to the hallway that goes into the rest of the library, which is the fiction area. So where that's perpendicular on the roof, there's also a flat roof. And so there's brickwork on the side of the flat roof that's up against the rest of the building. So above that, I wish I had a picture. Above that is the slate roof. So there's the slate roof, a wall of brick, and then a flat roof where all the HVAC units are on. So that brick wall, because there's no snow fences, the snow comes down, settles in on the flat roof up against those bricks, and those bricks swell and the pointing is in poor shape. But that's only one place where we have that problem.
Well, I guess my question is, let me rephrase it. When was the last time any roof work was done on a library?
During the renovation, a new roof was put on the reference room, and they try to match the slate to the slate that existed on the historical wings. I don't think any work was done on the historical building, Memorial Hall and the children's room during that project almost 25 years ago. But through the time I've been here, which is about 23 years, I've been told by vendors that this roof they're putting together with gum and tape to prevent leaks. And in fact, we had a report back in 2018 from Old Mohawk, which is a preservation art roof vendor, and he did a study for us. In fact, I'm pretty sure you should have it, Dick, because I gave it to the to the finance committee a while back. I think you were on there. It was a thick book, and it goes through all the issues with the roof that also gives timetables on how things should be addressed. Well, very few of those things have been addressed.
How, I'm going to only ask one or two more questions, then open it up to my committee. How much of this, if you had how do I want to phrase this? We have some money in CPA. It will not cover $911,000. Won't
Well,
even come close.
first of all, we've had 2 successful CPA grants, one to deal with the windows and also to deal with work in the attic spaces that have a little bit about pointing on the interior of the building brick. We have structural problems. A vendor a long time ago cut off one of our, huge cross beams across the library that needs to be replaced. So yeah, CPA has already played a role to reduce costs in this project, the overall project. So we haven't been shy about applying for those things. Now,
And I think that's a point I'm making now. What would happen if, and maybe you don't know at this point, you need to go, if through CPA we got you a total, let's say $450,000. Of the 450,000, about 101,000 would come from the state based on the 14.4 cents that they're giving on the dollar now. But we'd have to be at 3% to get the 101,000. Otherwise, we'd only get 30,000. Are you willing? What could you do with 450,000 to secure the building from leaks and not do everything you needed? Is it a viable question to ask you, or is it impossible to correct things with $450,000?
so I don't know. Let me just say, I understand after being through this entire meeting, the challenges that you guys have to address and solve. But very frankly, this work on the library is not elective, right? I mean, of course, we're going to do our due diligence to find money where we can. We want to help the town. Of course we do. And we're looking into green communities, and you heard about we're having challenges as a town to take quick action on that. But if we did, that would help us with our HVAC. But not the whole project, about $500,000. The town would still have to put out quite a bit of money. So, the roof will cost $900,000. If there's another source that right now today would tell us, yeah, we'll give you part of that, I'm certainly willing to pursue CPA or anything else. But, I think because of the challenges of running the town's operating budget and the further challenges of trying to figure out how to pay for all of its capital needs, the library is kind of taking a back seat. I mean, we're not as, the urgency that we bring to the table is nothing like needing cruisers or fire trucks or DPW trucks. There just isn't that urgency because I guess we don't use vehicles. But, I don't want to bring up other projects that we've put forth that, everybody wants to help the library. But at the end of the day, there's only so much we can do in the town, Joe. And, you can go another year with a bad carpet. You can go another year without
what you just said, Joe, is what I have to say back. There's only so much we can do.
Oh, but I said that.
We're trying to find a way to secure that building for you.
Yeah.
Without spending $2 million, $6 million, $13 million.
Well, no. This report was done by a person, an outfit, SPG, which worked on the Prescott building, and we took out a huge portion of their report that had nothing to do with the structural improvements of the library. There were things about furniture, creating new spaces, all these other things. So what's before you is, I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you say, it's almost like it would be like, Dick, tell me how much money you're going to give us, and we'll figure out how to get projects done as we get the money. Right?
I guess the answer to that, and I will not speak for the committee, they can say it. We want to give you something. We want to give you the minimum we can afford,
Sure.
which is not very much. And it sits now in CPA money, and at maximum, it could be about $450,000. There you have your figures to work with as to what you can do to secure the building. We cannot do at this moment much more than that.
So I'm just so I understand you, Dick. Are you saying that there's $400,000 in CPA that we should pursue to fix problems in our historical wing?
Cheryl, my estimate is that it was around 500 to 550 left in the general 65% fund. Am I anywhere near correct?
The total of the undesignated and the reserved for open space recreation, housing and recreation is the 500,000, yes.
500,000. I don't want to kill all that. I don't think we should. And that would include, incidentally, not the full 450. That would be after your 15% from next year is deducted. 10% from next year is deducted. I mean, we're really going to cut this close, but I want that building for another year at least to be stable. The idea of a leak just blows my mind. I can't stand the idea of that. However, I can't afford to fix it either unless you can go some way other than CPA, other than town finance.
Dick?
And the only available way to me at this point is CPA, and I think that the town would support you on it based on need to save a building and contribution from the state of at least $30,000 to $33,000 that would not be charged to customers.
So, Mr. Chairman,
that's a 1% too.
Yeah, excuse me if I'm appearing a little frustrated because we're talking about figures about how much things are going to cost when we already know how much can be given. And it doesn't sound like a roof project is something we can hang our hats on because it's dependent on other areas of money. So what I'm hearing from you is that the town, there might be available funds that the town has already of $450,000 plus whatever we can get from CPA. Do I understand that correctly?
No, the 450,000 is the 65% of the CPA.
Okay, so $450,000 right now can't get the roof done. So
I'm not saying it's approved. I'm saying that's what you could ask for.
No. You and I are talking right now, so it's all just theory. We're having a conversation, so I'm not holding you to anything. So a $450,000 project doesn't account for the fees that go into doing a project. So $450,000 is probably only $350,000 to do a project because of all the professional fields that the services that go into something.
You said you needed 911. I'm trying to give you half of it. That's all I got to offer.
Thank you.
Can we take other
Sure. Please,
other comments?
Other committee members, please talk.
I'm curious if anyone else has any insight on this. Roy or Stan?
Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I guess a couple of quick comments. One is, thank you, Joe, for all the presentations you've done on this. I'm convinced you have significant needs. You've gotten professional help to estimate these costs. And I'm convinced of the need and that type of thing. As Dick said, the only question is how we pay for it. I hear where Dick is trying to get the money from. I guess I would like to see if we can't provide some more money from the town funds, but I don't know yet based on we haven't completed this exercise yet. So I'm supportive of doing work on the library because we use it every day, historical value, et cetera. You've made your case. The only question is how much, and I don't know how to tell. I don't know what the number is tonight. I would defer that until we're a little farther along.
Could I ask a question too now, please? Thinking through this here.
I just reply to Roy.
Please, go ahead.
Roy, thank you. And I totally accept and have faith in everything you just said. It's okay if we don't know, but I would rather not try to figure out how to make the project less expensive if we're just talking about a number that you guys are going to give me, right? I'll work with whatever you give me. I'll be grateful for whatever the town can afford. But it doesn't, in my mind, make sense about the expense of a project when we don't even know what the number is as you expressed. And so that's just where I'm at right now. We could talk about any project, but if the town is only able to give X, thank you. We'll figure out a project from our list that will either meet a need or we'll try to find more money to meet a need that we can't reach yet. So thank you for that, Roy.
Well, let me ask you a question, Joe. If we somehow came up with $911,000, would it secure the building? And could you get the job done? And would you be happy? Is 911,000 a real figure?
I'm not happy.
No.
It's not about whether I'm happy, Dick. This is the
No,
town.
I'm not. I'm not. You know what I mean by happy. I'm not talking about individuals.
I'm happy to get any work on this list that I have done. Whatever the town can, I mean, if the town has to stretch 900 to get to $911,000, well, that might not help me next year when I could do another project then, and well, we stretched for you already. So I want to live within our means, Dick. That's what I want us to do. I'm happy to live within the town's means, and we'll figure out a way to get whatever project we want to address addressed.
Okay.
So I'm not asking for miracles.
Do you understand what we're trying to do this year? And I think you do.
I
But
do.
for those listening, we've got $2.5 million that we got to pay on a school that we don't have. We've got $1 million of it. That's $1.5 million. You got an increase, average increase to 600 to $1.2 million in operating budget, with only an increase of $200,000 to $300,000 in expenses. Where in the world do you think we are going to get $2.5 million or thereabouts?
Well,
when
Dick,
we just had a 1.2.
Dick,
I am trying to find a way to
I
get
understand.
through the next year because I strongly believe, and this is me talking, not the committee, that after this election, national election, and I don't care who wins, I'm not pushing that people will get back to normal. The Fed will keep dropping the rates by basis points, and the rates will go down. But I do not know how we are going to get through the next year. And that is what I'm asking. What can you do in the next year to get us through that will save the building? That's what I want to do.
I think, Dick, mostly we're in radical agreement on this. You know, the town has already paid $75,000 for the feasibility study. So they got skin in this already, right? But if the town can't do what is required in that plan and next year might be better, that's okay. You know, all I can do is report what I know. I know nothing about the finance end of things. So I have no idea what the town's ability is to do this. They don't have enough money, so it becomes a matter of priorities, which is a policy decision that's between you and the Board of Selectmen. All I can do is present the case from the as factual a document as I can have.
Right.
I can't. I won't try to convince taxpayers that this is what they ought to do. I said in the last meeting, All I could do is present this, and wherever the chips may fall, the library is prepared to deal with it.
All right, well, I believe in preventive maintenance, and that's why I'm trying to get you something for preventive maintenance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead. Bill.
can anyone explain to me why we wouldn't be able to use some or a good amount of the CPA money for this purpose?
It has to be approved by the townspeople. It would have to be a warrant item approved by the townspeople, presented and sponsored by the library. Other than that, there would be no reason why it would not be spent.
Excuse me? The CPA board decides what goes on the warrant.
Mm-hmm.
It has to, applications have to go into them. I don't know how they select projects. So it's on the CPC's lap to determine what they put before voters.
That's correct, but you have to make the application, Joe.
Of course.
And they generally approve what's applied for. But this, you're right, this would be a big request, so they may turn it down. Does that clear it up for you, Stan, at all?
Well, I'm just, again, can someone reiterate what the amount of money is in the CPA now?
The undesignated fund balance has 380,000.
Okay, so it's obviously not enough and wouldn't be expected to get it all there, but I'm trying to get all the facts and figures in my brain here, but it's a source. We don't have many other choices. What do we do? Like you said, it's frustrating, Dick. You know, it's 2 hours here, we're spinning our wheels because we ain't got no damn money to do what we want to do. The basics. And that's extremely frustrating.
Yeah,
I've been avoided, but I won't go there.
I have a comment. I think this was a great presentation the other night, Joe and Emily, when you did it for the select board too. I guess this whole like we're kind of reiterating the same conversation we had the other night, and it's kind of frustrating for me. But I feel like I understand we have a lack of funds. I understand that we are trying to pinch pennies here and there, but I feel strongly that the projects that the library have brought to us are the bare minimum. Like Joe has said, they already cut a whole bunch of stuff. We have neglected the library for years and years and years. It's similar to the high school. We voted for a new high school. The high school was neglected for years. This is something that we need to make a priority, and I think it's important that I know as a taxpayer, this is something that I would want to put my money towards. I would want to also encourage other taxpayers to want to put their money towards the funding of these very important projects to keep this very important building going and able to sustain just everyday life. I don't think stopping at the roof is enough. I think if we are going to try and fund the roof, we need to try and fund the whole project. And I think that was kind of discussed at the last meeting, how if we have to go out for a bond for $1 million, why wouldn't we go for a bond for $5 million? So that's just me. I'm one person on this board. That's my opinion. But I feel very strongly that this is a project that we should try very hard to move forward with.
Anyone else, Stan? Any more comments, Stan?
No, I mean, I'm supportive of it. I think Joe does a great job. And, you know, his hands are tied, our hands are tied. So I'll go back to the frustration level. I'm sitting here and I'm just, where do you go? There's no easy answer. And I'm very supportive of these much needed projects. We're not asking for extraordinary investments into things. This is basic. This is basic as it gets. We have a shortage of income. What are we going to do about it?
So I guess I have a question then for Kate or Cheryl. Is it possible that we could bond this? And I feel like this was already talked about on Monday, and I apologize because I know a lot of what we've spoken about tonight was already talked about on Monday, or last Monday. But is this something that realistically, if we bond for it, I feel like there was a discussion about how we're not taking on as much debt as we're letting off. I know we just did the high school, but
That's exactly right. Yes.
so there's an option to bond.
Joe, can you unshare?
Oh, sure.
That's where I'm kind of frustrated. I don't understand why we're not talking about the option of bonding this. Why it's just immediately like we give them CPA money or we give them nothing. That's where I'm kind of.
Yeah. So, sorry. Made it. So when we did the estimates, and these are the real estimates that you all, because based off the meeting that we had with the select board, that's one of the things that we did was we went to our bonding agents. So there, now I made it bigger. So as you can see, we have these.
You're not sharing your screen.
You're not sharing your screen, Kate.
Oh. So you mean what? You can't see it?
You can't. Here we go.
It's a secret. Okay. So now I can't see what I'm sharing. Oh, here we okay. Can you see this? That's my cursor here.
Yes.
Okay. So this debt is coming off, right? And so what we were talking about the other night is
Was
that
adding.
taking on a debt of 2.5 gives it a 175. The reason that it goes up is because of this is the high school debt, obviously, and then this is the high school debt with the $1 million that we already applied removed. If you were to take on this kind of debt, you know, at 3.5%, which is what over 20 years, it comes to about 175 to 180,000 spread out. So those are equal principal and interest. And that would replace these right here. This ladder truck is coming off. So this year proposed 26 would be the last payment. No, I'm sorry. The third to last payment for the ladder truck. Then you have this payment here for Burbank and the old high school debt that's falling off. Those are those payments. And then the ones that had gone before actual 23 were the last payments, and I think those are hidden here. And if I go to unhide them, it might
Big
fine.
one was the
Yeah.
school.
But those are debt payments that had fallen off. So if you were to remove the school, which I know we can't do, but just for the sake of argument, if you were to remove the school, taking on this debt in that amount is equal to debt that has fallen off either last year or in the last 3 years or will fall off at the end of this year.
Okay, what's the idea of having it at 3.5%? How realistic is that estimate?
Well, that's actually we ran it with Hilltop
That's legit.
with our bond, so that's legit.
They'll fund money at $5 million at 3.5% for the town of Lancaster.
It's 2.5.
2.5.
I'm sorry. Well, okay, I
2.5
misspoke the
million.
number. I'm more concerned about the rate. If that's something that's realistic to be showing illustrations and projections at 3.5% rather than who knows what. We were at 5% with the school thereabouts.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
are we off by that much?
It's a large difference in borrowing total, though.
and cash position to have it repaid. I mean, the town's cash position of 2.5 is far more favorable than the 3 towns' cash position of 240 million, right? So, I mean, that factors into it.
Did we have them do the full? I don't remember what
We
the
had
full
them do the
amount
5.
was.
Let me see if I can find.
And
Cheryl,
these
do
were
you have
done
that?
just the day. These were done the day before they did the rate cut. So part of that went into their thought process.
Yeah.
Is there anything up on the screen? I'll see it
No,
now.
she unshared for a moment.
I'm trying to find the things that I sent you all. If I can look at my sent emails.
One second.
Do we know when I sent that? Was it the
It was
following-
last week. It was the day after the the meeting. I just
The
can't
meeting,
get to
okay.
it Tuesday.
Estimated, okay.
Here it is. I got to it at the same time as you.
So this one was, I know this is very small. Let me try to blow this up a little. Can folks see that, or do we need to blow it up more? Anyone?
I can't really see it. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So how about now? Better?
That's better. Yeah.
So this is the coupon for 2.5 at 20 years of level debt. This is what I put into the debt
Right.
calculator in the other spreadsheet because it's the lowest payment. The difference between this and the other 20-year 2.5 was about 190. So that was equal principal. And that carried with it a price tag of $254 for the first year and going down considerably, probably by about 50,000 or so.
Can you
No, I'm
increase the
sorry.
size of that? Can't
Then the 5 million.
Oh, you stopped.
Yep, sorry, I'm trying to share it now.
Oh,
I had to, it won't let me jump from one to another. Don't know why that is, so let me just zoom in. So then the 5 million that you see here is the 387, and we didn't run that in the debt schedule, but it doesn't mean we can't if that's not something you guys want to see. So this is again equal payments, which are easier for planning purposes.
Okay, let me try one more time, if I may. I keep seeing that 3.5 and I don't believe it.
that's what they gave. That's the rate that they gave, though. The bond.
Who's they?
The bond agent, isn't it?
The company we're
Yeah.
working with?
Hilltop.
And we can
Hilltop
go out and
Securities.
borrow $5.5 million or 3.5% today.
But 5 million, but yes, that's what they're saying.
Whatever the number is, let's say 5 million, give or take $500,000.
Mhm.
We can borrow that at 3.5% today. Is that
That
what
is what they've said. That is what they've said.
You can't afford not to take it at 3.5%.
It's fantastic. Exactly. This is why I'm saying, like, if we're going to go for a bond at 2.5, why wouldn't we go for the 5 where it's only going to get these problems that we're not addressing with the extra 2.5 million are just going to get. No, I understand that, but these problems are just going to get worse, and it's going to be someone else. It's going to be our problem of the future. So we're just pushing it down the line more.
Well, you're assuming that the 3.5% will go up, therefore it'll cost more.
I don't think interest rates are going to go down much more than that.
I don't believe it's going to be 3.5, but if it is, take it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how else to. I can't call up bond counsel and tell them that they're liars. Right. We asked them, and that's what they gave us. So that's the only information that we have to go on.
Well, when you say that, makes me think about what might happen with the school bond that we're going to issue.
But remember, that is based on 3 communities, and it's like many, many, many times what we're asking for. So right. it sort of is like comparing apples to oranges. Not only that, our town has healthy reserves, and we kind of get bonus points that we've already squirreled away half of the payment of the debt for next year.
Well, yeah, and we had this discussion before we even did the bonding for the school too, because we kept talking about how our bond rating was higher than the other 2 towns, and it kind of was unfortunate that we had to
Our
based
bond
off of
rating
all
is
three
higher.
towns.
Where did that come from?
That was no, that was prior to doing the bonding for the school. I'm saying we had a higher bond rate than the two towns. The
No,
other two
okay.
towns.
Let me make a suggestion here. I'm trying to think about how, taking all the comments we've had here, we can kind of integrate them and try to figure out a way to move forward, because I don't think we're going to get the numbers tonight in front of us that we would say, oh yes, we can commit to that number. I think we've got to start doing some scenarios of different funding scenarios of things we would fund. We have to start looking at priorities from both the finance committee level as well as within the projects. And we have to ask people like Joe and others to say, okay, give us your rank ordered priorities here in terms of what projects you feel absolutely you got to do this year, et cetera, and kind of work that down. And then we've got to kind of roll that together and see what that means in twofold. One is what's our total debt amount we would be borrowing? And I'm going to say two other things. Then, as Kate has indicated here, what is our repayment schedule so we can see what we're having to pay? And I would say, to help bring it to the level of the taxpayer, what this means in terms of incrementally how much more taxes they're going to have to pay on the average house. Because a big number like 5 million or 200,000 or something like that doesn't mean much to them until they see how much it's going to cost them for their house. So I think that's kind of a approach I would say we should use to kind of work forward from here, because I don't think we can get to a number here tonight.
Well, 387,000, if that's the figure. Is that the figure I almost annually?
Is that on the 5,000 that you're looking for?
On the
Oh,
5 million.
5,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 5 million. Yeah, 387.
All right. 387, 400, which is 1/3 of $1.2 million. $1.2 million gave a house $450 more. So 1/3 of 450 is what it would cost. You got to ballpark these things so that you're dealing in the 150, 175 range.
And that's fine, Dick. I don't have a problem, scaling things and taking rough ratios and approximate numbers and put a range on it. But I think that's the kind of thing we need to do across our whole budget when we get done here, is kind of understand what it means.
Well, Stan, you got any? I'd like to hear from you again, Stan, especially concerning the 3.5%.
Well, what can you hear from me? If that's what these experts who do this daily are suggesting we can get, then I think it's a very viable thing that we're going to have to do as a town, and hope going forward that income will increase. There's no other choice. There's just no other opportunities. We give up 130,000 to get 75,000. It's like, why don't we borrow that and capture that $75,000? That's a good return on investment if you're only borrowing at 3.5%.
Is Joe Muley still there, or Emily? Joe, you there?
Am, Mr. Chairman.
And Emily?
Yep.
What is your thought on 5.5 million at 3.5%? Does that get done what you want to get done?
Well, yeah, based on the estimated numbers I gave you, we would have to probably, we won't know the cost of anything until we start sending out RFPs, hiring an OPM. I mean, that's when we'll know. But right now, based on my analysis of the feasibility study, increasing it by 8% every year from 2024, those are the numbers I came up with.
All right, now back to the committee. Stan, as approving 5.5 million at 3.5%, where do you stand?
Do we need the full 5.5 is my question.
Well, that's what's in front of us. Let's go with 5.5, and we're not voting. We're expressing opinion. There's a difference. Okay.
Well, I would say I'm supportive of getting the things that are necessary in this town that aren't going to get less expensive you have to bite the bullet at some point in time. I'm going to do some
Okay.
homework tomorrow. I want to look at some municipal borrowing rates, recent ones, and see if there's any 3.5s mixed in there. I have to do that for my own benefit here, my own mental health.
Okay, Emily, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm very supportive of the 5.5 at 3.5.
Okay, and Rory, what are your thoughts?
I would be very supportive of looking at the 5.5, both because of the need and because it only gets more expensive. And the point would be, we can borrow money at 3.5%. That's cheaper than taking the 8% hit for the cost increase of deferring it. So we're
Okay.
prudent to borrow the money and go forward.
All right, then it's time to move forward on this whole discussion. So the tenor of the committee is to move forward with 5.5. The approval comes from the Board of Selectmen later on. But right now, that appears to be what the committee is saying. Is that a correct statement? Does anyone want to take issue with it?
I would say I want to move forward with 5.5. I think we need a little more data to see if we can really afford it, but I'd like to try and move forward with it.
Well, Joe, can you get back to us on the whether 5.5 is your number or not?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hear me?
Yes.
As of right now, that's the best number I have. There's nothing, I mean, unless you did another cost estimate, that's as good as any number in that.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. So, Stan, you want to check interest rates, huh?
Yeah, I owe it to myself to just see if that's a real number. And again, I'm not questioning anyone, but yes, I am questioning it. The amount.
Well, we have to make a decision here, gang. We can't keep
Well, did we
pushing
just do
stuff
that?
down the road. Either we're in favor or we're not.
Yeah, well, I'm in favor of that.
Okay, all right.
Mr.
Is
Chair,
there anything
Mr.
else the
Chairman.
library would like to discuss?
No, thank you.
Chairman,
I think Emily has a comment.
yeah,
Emily?
sorry, I can't find how to raise my hand, but I just want to say we appreciate the time and effort and consideration that the committee has provided to this. It's been reviewed and worked on, and of course, we'll continue to do our part looking for other grant opportunities and other financial assistance as well. But thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Joe.
Thank
Unless
you,
somebody
everyone.
else would like to go
Always a
over.
pleasure to be in your company.
All righty. Moving on, next is the, if you can bring up that sheet again where it shows the school.
Sorry, the sheet, you want the debt plan?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I don't think we can do anything with it because that's really part of the operating budget. I mean, we don't get to debate that.
No.
That's
No.
just the knowledge that we're going to have to spend it. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right sheet. Let me see where I'm looking at here. I'm looking at.
Kate, can you expand those slide, the size of the font so we can see it better for the first couple of years?
Yep.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Want me to go to what years are you? So really, FY 25.
Look at the high school line for the for 26 on for the next couple of years, as many as you can display there.
Okay, 26 on. So.
But is that the high school line there?
The peak. Pardon?
Is that the high school line there at the bottom?
Yes. Here. Yep. And then 26 is in the pink. We built it out obviously until 2034.
Well, as far as I can see, we took the 213 and the 38,000, 250, 260, and replaced it with 387. Is that correct?
Mhm.
We need to have a running total, Kate. So
I'm
we
really-
know what we're doing.
I'm confused. What? I don't know.
So
what
are
we
you going
just
back to
said.
are you going back to the library debt?
Well, I mean,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the school, and then so you want me to
yeah,
change
I do want
this?
the school. I do
I get
want the
it.
school, but I'm talking about trying to keep a record of how much money we're spending or saving.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Give me a minute just so I can get to the other screen. You know, it's been like a day. I mean, we're going on 14 hours here. I'm losing steam.
And then I want to come to the school and take out these debt things because they are not part of capital. They are part of operating. And I just want a pure capital expenditure when we're all done.
Okay. I have to make this smaller so that I can see it because on my screen it was ginormous. So just bear with me a second. So we're doing the library yet. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have about 20 minutes of time availability before I have to depart, believe it or not, for another meeting. So I don't know what
All
that
right,
gives.
because there's this and then there's one more thing. Once he does this, I'm going to skip over it real fast. And then
Okay.
we should get it done. And it'll be the last item too. What I would like to know, Kate, is on the what I call the 5-year plan. You have on the last page, you have 75,000, 75,000, and 125,000 for the schools in town for the buildings. Why?
All right, hold on. Let me make sure I'm looking at the same thing you are.
It's on the
Are
last
you talking
page.
about this sheet here?
Yeah, go down the bottom. See the 75, 75, and 125? Why?
For the 3 schools.
That's for that was a placeholder based on their facilities assessment that they did, and so they were carrying somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 for like general maintenance and upkeep of the school. I think it's high, but I put it in there.
But that's not part of a capital expense. That's part of an operating expense, is it not?
Well, we were told by you all last year that you would appreciate it if we separated out capital from the operating budget for the schools. So that's what we did.
Yes, but as far as approved for, and although this may be capital, it will again be considered in the operating budget. I don't want to consider it in 2 places.
Not
Stated
the
freely,
Mary
but
Road,
not considered in 2 places.
Well, Mary
Mary-
Rosen and
Mary
Luther
Rosen
Burbank.
and the
Yeah,
Luther Burbank capital are not part of the operating. They're not included.
Correct.
They're separate.
those are separate. So we pay for that separate from our assessment.
Well, but that's the $10,000 rule, isn't it?
No,
Mm-mm.
the town owns the school buildings, so we pay for the repair and maintenance of the elementary and middle school.
And you think it's $75,000 for each, or $150,000 total?
Or less. I mean, their 5-year debt plan, I just was looking.
How come we've never approved this before?
You approved it last year?
Hmm.
See, let me go back just so you can see
Approved
it.
without discussion then?
Well, I mean, I don't think so. We discussed it
We discussed
We,
it.
we,
A
we
lot.
approved the boiler, we approved carpets and
Yep.
kitchen, I
Yeah.
think,
Here's
Right.
That's
part.
all that.
as individual items.
Well, I
But
look, they're on
she said
here.
this.
This is the capital. This is where we put them. Carpet, boiler, boiler.
I think she's just trying to say this is a placeholder, the 75,000.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's all. That's why it says placeholders waiting on school.
Why do we owe any money on the high school? We don't own that.
So I put that in there as a placeholder because it's ongoing maintenance. But if you want us to take, it's just, that's what you all said you wanted to see last year, so we did it.
It's up to the group, but I want to see how much we have
I know,
committed at the end of tonight to spend.
Forgive me, but I feel like I'm setting up to kick a field goal and you move the posts.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times,
Well,
you know, so I guess just, I cannot include it in the total, but I think that it would be important to show it at least generally, separate from the assessment.
all right. Well, anyhow, anything that will be in the operating budget, in my mind, and will be considered in the operating budget would not be considered in the capital budget. I don't want to consider it in two places. That's what I'm talking about. It can be listed as there, a different color, whatever you want, but I don't want it to be is some money we approve because we're going to have to approve it in the operating budget.
Okay.
All right, now I'll move on from that if there's no more discussion about it and go to the main last subject, and that's the old town hall. And that you will want to bring up. Have you got that on the sheet?
You look at the debt sheet.
It's on the five-year plan sheet, I think, for $80,000 or 85.
Oh, okay. Yep. Hold on.
$80,000.
For the replacement of the fire escape.
Well,
I mean, that was the proposal.
is that what the $80,000 is?
Yes. Yeah.
And why do we need a fire escape?
Because it's a building code requirement to be able to use the main floor
Okay,
and use it for voting. So,
but if there's no one in the building, do we need the fire escape?
Well, we need the building for voting. So I think as we discussed last Monday, that this is the bare minimum to be
Why
able
do
to
we need
use
the building for voting? Why don't we vote in the school? Why? So here's my point. I guess I should just make it, and then you people can discuss it. I would go for shutting down the whole building, turning off the water, turning off the heat, only repairing what is necessary so no one gets hurt, removing all the stuff for stores there and no one enter the building. And I would drop the insurance coverage too. That's $80,000 that we saved right there. Maybe $10,000 to close it all up. So maybe $70,000 we saved. We have, for use twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, we're going to pay oil, electricity, insurance, and upgrades. This is not the year to do that, I don't think, folks, but that's only my point. I would like to drop the whole thing and close the building. So I leave it open to the committee for discussion. Emily, you have a thought on that?
I would be concerned at our ability to use the school for voting. I also know, and I don't know how this would be moving forward.
We own the school. Neshoba is used by Bolton, and Center School is used by Stowe. Why are we keeping a building open 365 days to use 3 days?
Okay.
And why wouldn't we be able to use the school? You shut the school down the last time we had a vote. So obviously the building would be available.
But we would then have to shut the school down for town election days too.
Yes, just like Stowe and Bolton do.
Well, the town election, the town election is in the town hall in Stowe.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's where I'm kind of like, I don't know that Stowe and Bolton actually shut. I think they only do it for national elections, because it's district wide. But I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I was under the impression
Stowe's town elections and whatever and town meeting are on Saturday.
So that's different.
Yeah. So they shut the school down for like the state.
Could I ask you this, Kate?
Yeah.
In addition to not spending $80,000 to fix something, how much would we save in oil, electricity, and insurance if we were to close the building down? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, so the electricity was minimal because we have the solar recs. So it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like $38. It was like $38.
I'll accept your explanation of it was minimal. Okay.
Yeah.
It was minimal. I think the big one is the oil. So that was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8,000. As far as the insurance, I was able to check with the insurance carrier. So because it's on town property and it's still a town facility, we are required to insure and hold liability insurance. If we are going to mothball it and have it be vacant, they have to come do an assessment. And they said some of the times it's more expensive than if it's not a vacant building, but they could do that assessment for us. So I can bring that number back because I don't have it.
Okay.
Can I ask? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, I'd like to join in here too. In general, I'm agree with the direction that Dick is going in terms of, I think based on higher priorities of other things we need to use our town funds for, I think we need to move as quickly as we can to get the old town hall to the point where it costs us the absolute minimum /0 and we stop using it. That's a direction I think we should go in, because funding it for 3 days a year at these repair levels and the cost to keep it open, et cetera, just isn't worth it in my mind. I think Kate, would need some time to figure out exactly how do we do voting and that type of thing. So I understand that, but we need to start on a plan, and maybe we have to look at what's the end goal. Do we want to just mothball it and do nothing with it for 5 years and then see where we are? Do we want to try and move it to the point where maybe someone would buy it and use it for something? I don't know. But we may need to answer that question first. But in general, I would reduce expenses to support the old town hall. We just don't use it enough. We have higher priority needs for the dollars.
So I would argue that there are other organizations in town that utilize the old town hall for events too. So I think it would be like the hugest hit, but it would be unfortunate to close it, because I know there are things like Halloween on the Green and the tree lighting that use that building on a yearly basis. So it's not just voting.
How much do they use it, Emily? I mean, they use it multiple days. They use it for setup kind of things. What do they use it for?
The library uses it for their book sales too, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
You got one.
Okay, but couldn't we do that someplace else?
Yes, we could, Troy.
Yeah.
I guess
Also,
I'll throw my 2 cents worth in too.
Can I just finish what I was, can I
Go
just
ahead,
finish
Emily,
what I
I'm
was saying?
sorry.
Sorry.
I'm all excited.
Yeah. So that would be my concern with closing it, is that there are other organizations that also use it. I also am going back to the presentation that we had last Monday. I think closing it down makes it harder to do anything with it in the future, as far as possibly having someone come in and sublet it for business purposes. That Kate had spoken that would be a potential future option. So again, I have a hard time. I understand where everyone's coming from, that we want to save the $80,000, but I also feel like it makes it a future problem that we would then have to deal with in the future. We have this building that has been sitting for years vacant, and it becomes a liability at that point. So I personally would be against closing it. I think we should spend the $80,000 to fix it for election day.
What is your thought, Stan?
Okay. I am fully supportive of what Roy had said and what you had started to intimidate in terms of using a building half a dozen times a year for $100,000 expenses. It's a white elephant. It's going to need more and more repairs before it falls apart. It's what it's been there for a lot of years. Hate to see it go, but it's only practical. It's not functionally a part of this town that makes it worth keeping, in my opinion. It's already beginning to come apart. It may fall down before we decide what to do with it, because we don't have any money. And I don't think it's necessary for half a dozen, maybe a dozen events, one a month. That's all that one, at least when I was on the board for 7 years, I can't remember how many requests we got, and there's so few of them. Very, very occasional. Well, something changed massively in the last 4 years, and I don't think it has. That building doesn't need to be on our campus, period. It serves no function other than memories.
Okay.
Hope I didn't hit.
I am of the same opinion. So at 3-1, I think we need to note that 3-1, and Emily feels strong, keep it open. But I would take the 80,000 and put it in yellow, if you would, Kate. It's kind of a bubble item. I would like you to remove it all, but in deference to Emily, I think we'll put it in yellow for further consideration later on.
Okay, I think if I may, before you make your, and I realize this isn't a final decision, I'd like to be able to get back to you with an actual spreadsheet of the costs, if I have time to pull the bills over the past couple of years. Just because I don't want to just make a decision or have anybody make a decision based on not very accurate numbers. And I also need to know what the difference, if any, is going to be insurance wise, because we still are going to have to insure it regardless of whether we use it or not.
Yeah. Well, we have a meeting next Wednesday night.
Well, I will endeavor to get you something prior to that.
It looks as though we're going to add things on, because we will have a new result here, and I will take it as new business next week. If you can get it for us.
Yep. I'll get on it.
Because
Are we
now,
an advisory
we're going to
committee?
town meeting with recommendations. But first, we have to make the recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. And they are our recommendations. I thank you all for the discussion. Is there any other topic anyone would like to discuss before we wrap it up?
I'll defer to Stan because he has to leave.
I know I have no more. Thank you.
Roy, do you have anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I'm fine, Dick. We took care of my item relative to the warrant articles.
And Emily's okay. All right. Kate, is there anything that we didn't get straight that we need to, well, we can talk by phone tomorrow if you like.
Yeah, no, I will send out tomorrow, let me just clean up what you all did. I'll put in some notes, and I will send you the finance committee version based on this, and then I will, get working on, Cheryl can call Hilltop just to make sure that they're not fibbing about the 3.5%.
Okay,
And, I will get stuff on insurance and the town hall expenses.
okay. I would like to thank everybody for the orderly and kind way we discussed some very difficult items tonight. Thank you very much. I think we had a good meeting. I hope you feel so too, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second, no discussion. Emily,
yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
and Dick, good night. Thank you all. Thank you, Cheryl.